Conservation Commission, a meeting of October 23rd in person, and our first hearing this evening. Must be in here someplace. Town of Walpole Conservation Commission requested determination of applicability in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of John Glossop to repave a portion of the lower parking lot located at 233 Baker Street, Walpole, Mass., map 43, lot 13, which is within 100-foot buffer zone of the wetlands. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person on October 23, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. All interested persons are requested to be present. Okay, do we have anything to read in here?
From other departments, no, we do
This is, so nothing here.
not. Where did that come from? Oh, that's from the newspaper.
So nothing here.
There's nothing in there. Just wondering what the class proposal is.
Oh,
I know
that.
what it is now.
You know what 47 across is?
It's been a long week.
Okay, representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Glossa, Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And I also have, to my left here, is Attorney Matt Watsky. You may or may not know Matt. I think he's been in front of this board before. But Matt's a member of the club, and Matt's the liaison between the club and myself as far as getting this work done. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I have some half-size colored-up plans that I think are a little easier to read and to manage. So I can the state of them.
While John is setting that up, as he makes his presentation or we make reference to the plan, is it possible for us to be able to zoom in on different features on the plan that's on the screen? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So for those of you who may not know, 233 Baker Street is Walpole Country Club. If you were driving down Baker Street away from Washington Street, and you turned into the Walpole Country Club, you would be coming down this driveway here. There's a upper parking lot here, and then there's a lower parking lot here. This is the pro shop here, or at least the part where you're going to get your card and get set up to head out and golf. The first tee is over in this direction here. There's wetlands in this location here, which would be to the east of the parking lot. Those wetlands are bordering on the Allen Dam. So is that called the Allen Pond? On the Allen Pond around behind the Allen Dam. Right, so the Allen Dam's dam that was built by the Army Corps of Engineers in the late 70s or early 80s?
83.
83, you should know that. So these are the wetlands that border that. I'm not sure if they came up that far before, but it doesn't really matter. Those are the wetlands. They're down a fairly good slope from where we are here. So they're down at elevation 192 or so, and we're up at elevation 200. So they're at least 8 feet lower. than this parking lot. This is an existing parking lot. We're not making it any bigger, we're not making it any smaller. What the club wants to do is repave this parking lot. It's in fairly bad shape. A lot of it is cracked. A lot of it is alligator cracking. So it needs to be done. If you don't do it, it's going to start breaking up and turning into gravel and create, potential problems. So I filed this as a request for determination. We're not working in the wetlands. We are within 100 feet of the wetlands, but we're not making the parking lot any bigger. So rate of runoff, though that standard doesn't change. What we're doing to meet the stormwater requirements is we're putting an infiltration trench here, which is essentially 2 feet deep, 6 feet wide, has a half a foot of volume storage above it, and that will accept all of the runoff from this portion of the pavement for the first half-inch of storm. So we need to, for recharge, these are Canton soils, which are hydrologic group B, so we need to infiltrate 0.35 inches. And for stormwater quality, we need to infiltrate 0.5 inches. We're not in a wellhead protection area or any sensitive area. So we meet both of those standards. We designed this to accept and infiltrate into the grounds a volume equivalent to a half-inch of rain falling on this area here. This is in sort of a, let me just put it this way, there's no vegetation here of any size. There might be some little shrubs or something, wild that are growing. The tree line you can see is back here. So we want to be at the top of the slope. We don't want to be right up next to the pavement, because then people are going to either drive in there or perhaps the pavement starts to crack off. But we don't want to be too close to that slope. It's 8 feet high, so we want to stay back from that a little bit also. Just common sense, right? You're going to put water in there. We don't want to be right up against the slope. I believe, and then we're showing compost sock along the limit of the work on the downstream side here. So with that, I think I'll let Matt sort of take over. He's just going to explain to you the requirements. And one reason why we're here and not next spring is we'd like to get this done before the paving season ends in another month to 5 weeks or so.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. So, as John said, we're applying for a determination of applicability and urging the commission to approve this under a -3, as it's referred to. So a negative determination that the activity, as the negative determination instructions for completing the form and the determination form itself say that if the commission can determine that although it's in buffer zone, the work will not alter an area subject to protection under the act, that it's appropriate to issue a determination of applicability as a negative, but with conditions. And where this is an existing paved parking lot that really does need to get repaved, it's breaking up, you have an existing condition, you have existing stormwater that's coming off of it, with the erosion controls that John has proposed for the very short time period that it will take to repave it. And it's basically a 1 or 2 day job at most. So you time that for when it's not raining. You get that done. Kevin Wally, our course superintendent, can get the stormwater swale excavated and graded out properly, also within a matter of just a couple of days, and you have a nearly instantaneous improvement in the condition of the stormwater management on the property, with no adverse impact. We're not proposing work within wetlands. We're not putting pavement any closer to the wetland than it is now. But what we're doing is eliminating the potential that as the pavement breaks up, that its particles wash off into the, over the slope, and any sediment that might be on it would wash off the slope. And we're actually treating the stormwater. There's some other things that we've done just as an operational change that I've had implemented through this season, and that's that you may be familiar that when golf courses are being managed and maintained over the year, that it's not at all unusual to have to bring in large volumes of sand. And the sand is sometimes used to replace the sand in bunkers. Sometimes the sand is used to fill aeration holes in the fairway. It's a common practice. It's basically every year. Since 1978, when the course was built and this parking lot was put in, that part of the parking lot is where the pile of sand was dumped. And then it would be taken out of there and moved around the course. This year, I had the course change the operation. We set up a different location for the sand to be placed. That's on the opposite side of Baker Street. Really, at that point, it becomes Old Post Road in an area that's nowhere near wetland, and it's very flat. And so there's no more sand being placed down here, and therefore there's also less vehicle traffic with trucks and equipment that would move it around. And so what John has designed in here as the water quality swale is where you would see, if you go down there, some of residual sand that's in, it's really a grassy strip, but there's sand in that area that's on the surface. That would all get excavated out, removed, and the swale put in. So this is an improvement over the existing condition without any adverse impact to the wetland. I think it's certainly something that can be approved under a negative determination. And as John, he didn't go through each of the different subsections of 10.056K, the stormwater rules, but what he's presented for a redevelopment is perfectly consistent with those standards, where if you're not increasing the impervious surface, and it's an existing impervious surface, you're only subject to the first three standards, 2 and 3, I think it is. I didn't bring the regs with me, but I went through this with John as we were putting together, and it meets those standards to capture and infiltrate the amount of water that he's designed it for. So I'm glad to take any questions from the commission, or John can field them. And we do have a contractor who's lined up to do this. If the commission can give an approval, we would hope to have the improvement done, including the swale, before the end of this season.
Okay. Landis?
Yep, so with applications, one of the first thing I do is go out and take a look at the wetlands line. So I did go out and take a look at the wetlands line here, and I found that along the boundary of the wetlands, there's a lot of yard waste and branches and leaves and grass clippings on the bank and down the bank. And sort of on top of the bank are plants with blooms still on it, and there's grass clippings that are still kind of green. So, and there's brush that has fresh cuts. So it didn't appear to me that this is like historic material. So I sent some pictures to the applicant. I have pictures. These both are the same, but there's 2 copies here for the commission to look at, where the flag is hung at the toe of this material. So it's really, when I come across a situation like that, and my job is to identify the wetlands so they can figure out where the buffer zone is, it's not a good line, because it's at the toe of material that has been placed there. And I don't know if some of it is placed in the wetlands or if some of it is placed outside the wetlands. So that was one of the issues I had. Then the other issue I had was, it's hard for me to verify the wetlands line. The waste, yard waste material that's out there, it's not just really old, it's somewhat new. And then, the commission pretty consistently, any work done is 50 feet close to the wetlands and has a stormwater component, it's usually filed under a notice of intent. I understand your timeline at the moment, that you want to do it this year, and it is an improvement, so you're hoping to get out there as soon as possible. But usually, components that involve stormwater are filed under notice of intent. That means an order of conditions is issued, that's recorded at the registry of deeds. You get any kind of operation and maintenance plan that's required. The swale is great. And does it have a sediment forebay, or the water quality component is just that the stormwater would be infiltrated, I think is what I understand. There is no stormwater report. I asked for calculations tonight. There was a lot of moving pieces here, which are usually handled under a notice of intent. So that's why I recommend the commission a notice of intent. That's my recommendation. It's up to them to decide what to do.
Okay, thank you. Bailey?
Nothing at this time.
Doug?
One item, and it's not part of the proposed work, but a suggestion from an operations standpoint. The existing dumpster is right up against the 25-foot buffer, and historically, dumpsters always have a risk of something getting thrown in there that shouldn't have been, and then it can seep out, and in this case, it would seep out into the wetlands. Is there any chance of finding a better spot for that that's further away from the 25-foot?
We can take a look at the plans. I can't picture a place where it would make sense to put it that isn't just as much of a problem as if you're going to put it on a paved surface. The whole pavement slopes in that direction. But I'm happy to take a look at it. I see that as something
Maybe
that's
even a few
separate.
feet back so somebody could do a visual inspection to see if anything
Well,
looks bad on the
You
back
could
of it.
walk around behind it without a problem already.
Okay. All right, that was my only concern.
Okay.
Okay. Emilio?
I know it's an existing parking lot, but it just does seem like it needs some more formal stormwater calculations on this, and something like that's more documented, so I would go along with Landis's recommendation.
So the only calculations that are required are the rate and volume of runoff.
Okay.
Right? So rates and volumes of runoff change as you change the disposition, the composition of the ground surface.
Okay.
So we're not doing that. So that would be, we're going to take this and it's 25,000 square feet and we're going to say existing condition and this is your runoff, and then we're going to do proposed condition and this is your runoff, and they're going to be the same, both the rate and volume. Then the other one is to meet the recharge requirement to put the water back into the ground, which is a point for hydrologic group B soils, which this is, it's Canton soil. So that's 0.35 inches. So that's can handle 0.5 inches, right? And then for stormwater quality, which again, 25,000 square feet, but we're not in a zone 2 or anything that would require 1 inch. So we're ½ inch, and that's what I designed it for. So I do apologize. Landis asked me a while back to give her the calculation, but
John, how large is the area of the parking lot?
25,000, it's right on there.
Right here, right on here.
24,850 square feet.
Another wrench in your project, but did you look at the fast track required.
Sorry, Landis, I can't hear you.
Sure, so under the stormwater erosion control bylaw, 40,000 square feet or more, you'd file land disturbance permit, 5,000 square feet, between 5,000 and 39,999, you have to file a fast track permit, which I believe it's, you
You're talking about
infiltrate
the
1
local,
inch.
you're talking about under the local bylaw?
Yeah,
Yeah, understand.
And that's required, Landis, just to repave? So people with 5,000 square foot driveways would be required to file that? Is that how
you're
it reads?
altering a land, an area, 5,000 square feet or more.
It's not land, though. I'd have to read all the definitions,
You
but.
read it.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, it's
It's not-
altering by that you're taking up the pavement and then you're going to be taking, repaving. So you're altering over 5,000 square feet. I think with any project, we want to see an improvement in stormwater. Right now, there's nothing.
We're showing, right now, there's nothing, that's right.
Right, no,
There's
right now, there's
nothing.
nothing.
Right, so we're recharging what we're required
A
to
half inch.
recharge. A half inch.
What you're required to infiltrate a half inch.
Under the stormwater management regulations, 1/2 inch. We're not in the only, it goes to 1 inch, like if you're in the wellhead protection
Under our
areas.
bylaw, it's an inch. Okay, it's,
I'm just not sure, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but
No,
I'm
I
just not
understand.
sure that asphalt meets the definition of land, right? Asphalt is land. So you're gonna have a lot of people in here, all the people who are redoing their driveways? Because 5,000 square feet's not that big.
yeah.
But that's a separate issue from this
I agree.
application, so
I
we'll work our way through that. I wanted to address the issues that Landis raised, but I figured I'd hold my peace until the other members of the commission expressed whatever concerns they have.
Al?
What concerns me is not only the fact that we're talking about a half inch, and all these storms that we keep reading about are much more than a half inch. Okay, so, but let's say that in November, to catch up with what we've been missing in October, we have a storm of 2 inches. Where's it gonna go? And what's it gonna wash with it into the wetlands?
Well, it goes where it goes now, because this, if you look at the topography, this is pitching this way, so that's where it would go. That's where it goes now, and that's where it would go.
So
You
so
have
if
more
that,
than a half inch of rain.
if that's the case, then it washes the rubbish dump that's there into the wetlands. Because we've all seen the pictures on the television as a result of rain coming that nobody thought about. Okay, so I'm thinking about those things. And when somebody comes with a plan, a minimal plan like this to handle the stormwater, I get concerned. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, we have this dumping area, and we all know that any form of landscaping generates dead and dying materials and lawn clippings and leaves and all that stuff. And in this case, probably the flowers and plants from various other uses on the site deposited there. Okay, so I would look for something to clean this up and to establish a new program where it would go in a place that doesn't present a problem. Okay, and I was there when the first shovels were dug into the land there, converting this from a scientist's estate into what it is now. And I would like to see a little thought given to that as part of this plan, because if we don't do something about it now, it's just going to get more and more of the same dumping there. And we all know that it shouldn't be dumped next to the wetlands, so, okay, so those are my two concerns. I agree that the pavement's breaking up and needs to be replaced. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem that we're not looking at the ramifications of this climate change and global warming and all that stuff in projects. We're just going along as if that problem doesn't exist. And I think the country club ought to do their part in thinking about this problem, as well as any homeowner and other business. So I want to see a little better.
Okay, Al?
That's all.
Okay. Betsy?
All right. It's good that you're no longer storing a big pile of sand next to the wetland, but I guess nobody noticed that fresh fill was going down there, because that does make it difficult to delineate the wetlands. So Karen Skinner Catrone managed to do it somehow, but it's not, doesn't sound satisfactory from Landis's observations. So any plans about where the fresh yard waste is being dumped and what to do about that?
Yeah, I can address that, but through the chair, are there any other questions? Because I'll just go
No,
through
wait a minute.
the whole
Betsy,
list.
And,
Betsy,
and,
anything else?
and why not come up with the calculations that Landis asked for weeks ago?
But John has. But, Mr. Wiley?
Yeah, I have other questions about, I just looked at it tonight as he popped it here, and I have some questions about it.
Just a question, are you removing the existing pavement or just paving over it?
No, it's not getting paved over. It has to get completely ground up and then repaved. We had it inspected, and it's deteriorated to the point where it can't just have a resurfacing of it. It needs to be redone.
You're grinding up, and that will become the base for the new?
I think that's the case, that the existing material would be ground up, and some of it will end up being removed off-site, and the rest of it would be basically the gravel base and then paved over
Okay.
with a 4-inch layer of gravel on top,
Okay. Landis, you had
I mean,
some
of
other-
asphalt on top. All right. Through the chair, may I address the various questions that have been raised?
Have him
Yeah,
address
okay.
what was already.
All right, go ahead.
So, Landis noted that if you have an order of conditions, it gets recorded in the line of title, and therefore can be enforced and can have conditions. A negative determination with conditions gets recorded in the line of title as well. And so exactly the same kind of documentation that's in the line of title can be provided doing it this way. There's really not a substantive difference there. Excuse me. You've expressed concern about some material going over the edge. I was actually there today. It's not extensive and along the entire slope. The Landis provided you with some pictures of a particular area. First, as I noted earlier, by changing our operations and not having the sand stored there anymore, and now proposing this repaving plus the swale, we're in a position to not have any sand go over the top, and we'll have the equipment on site to be able to also address whatever material that, and I'm happy to have Landis there during construction to identify specific areas of material that need to get pulled out. I see that as a separate issue. Like, there's the request for determination that we're filing, saying, here's the exact project that we want to do. And then there's, you've got 50 years of operations that have gone on there that perhaps haven't, you've got some material that went over the side. We'll take care of that. And the club has been very responsive if issues have been pointed out. And I'm quite sure that I can have Kevin Wally carefully remove any excess material that's on, as I looked at it, it's really mostly at the top of the slope. There's not a lot that's dropped down into the bottom. But if there is some, we can have that removed. We do have a place where excess material can be taken. It's, again, nowhere near wetlands. We have a sort of a materials storage area that's next to the 17th tee, again, on the opposite side of Old Post Road. That's nowhere near wetlands. And so to the extent that we need to remove some material from here and carefully redo that area of the slope where there's any alteration, we're happy to have that done. And we can do that by agreement with the commission. I don't see that as part of this project necessarily. I did ask Kevin Wally, our green super, like, does he, as a matter of practice, dump materials there? And he said, absolutely not. He does have leaf blowers, and basically, I mean, the only place where the leaves come from are from the trees in those woods. And some of them, when the wind blows, they blow up onto the parking lot and they get blown back off into the woods. So he's not collecting leaves from the property as a whole and dumping them over the slope. It's just blowing them off of the parking lot and back out into the woods.
So it sounds like he's sort of denying that it's happening, but
No,
that's not necessarily a good thing for this commission to hear, because it looks
so
like it is.
I'm acknowledging that there is absolutely some material there. I went in, I saw there's some sand that went over the
Put
side.
there by a human being, not accidentally from the woods. The
It may-
flowers
I
and
think it actually,
fresh
it may
grass.
have, it looks like it's mostly material that has probably washed off of the parking lot in the existing condition. But,
The
but I don't-
pictures
you know,
that I
sticks
have
in,
tonight,
I haven't seen your
there's
photos,
grass
Calandis.
clippings that have obviously been,
And so that's troubling. I mean, just say, okay, we accidentally have been using that as a dumping area, we're going to clean it up. But to say it's been accidentally falling off the parking lot, it's fresh flowers and grass.
What I would suggest is that if you have the determination issued approving the project as it's presented, that a condition is that we present you an O&M plan to properly manage that slope, and we're happy to do that.
Landis, did you have anything more you wanted to add here?
so issuing an RDA with conditions that's been recorded is something that we have.
I'm sorry, Landis, I can't hear you again.
Issuing an RDA that, with conditions that's recorded is not something the commission does regularly, again, as stated. So if there's a component with multiple conditions, it's usually a notice of intent and a order of conditions. So if the commission feels, I mean, it seems like it's the timing that you need this done now, that you would like the determination now because you want to get started.
It's timing, it's timing, it's permit fees, it's additional process. And, I mean, one of the mantras back when I was at DEP that Tom Powers expressed was, we want more protection and less process. And I think you get just as much protection.
I don't think we've had any protection at all in this area at all.
I can't hear you.
But I don't think we've had any protection at all in this area. We
Right,
have
well, it's a
stormwater flowing into the wetlands.
parking
We have
lot that
Wait
was
a minute,
built in
wait a minute, let Landis
1978.
speak.
We have waste material that's been dumped over the side, not just blown. We have waste material that's dumped over the side. The wetlands was delineated apropos of a lot of this material rather than investigating it. We have, I do have what John gave tonight, but I don't know what rainfall data he used and what storm events for.
It's not required, Landis.
Okay, it's not
Storm
required, so you're
events
not doing
would
it.
be, well, if you want me to do a pre and post calculation
No, I
for
want to
you,
know, I want to know what storm events this vegetative swale is going to hold a half inch for a 2-year storm?
No, it's going to hold 1/2 inch of
Of any
rainfall.
storm. Of what?
Of rainfall. 1/2 inch of rainfall over,
So if it's a large rainfall, 25 year, 50, then it's just,
Like I
it's
said,
not
it
gonna
would,
hold anything.
it would,
it
it
goes to the same place that it goes
So
now.
that you're not, so there were not really an improvement for large storms. Smaller storms there is because the 1/2 inch will go into the swell, but large storms, it's not gonna really do anything.
not in terms of stormwater capture and infiltration, but
Or quality.
You would have it would for water quality, because the swale will serve as a sediment basin effectively, because it's a linear feature with, it's like what's it called when you have a level spreader effectively. So the water will overflow just in, as a sheet flow over the edge of it, which means any sediment that comes in there will stay in it, and then we'll have an O&M plan to manage the swale. And I mean, we have again, it's a parking lot that was built in 1978, and absolutely, it's close to the pavement is close to the top of the embankment. There's very little room in there. So what I asked John to do was design the maximum amount of stormwater management that he could fit in there. So that's what he's done.
So with the RDA, the question is whether the area depicted on the plan is subject to the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. Yes. It's within 100 feet of the.
Yes,
Of the wetlands.
that's right. So the question is under number 3.
Whether the boundaries of the resource area depicted on the plan referenced below are accurately delineated. I can't say yes to that.
I understand. We're not asking for this to be a
Yes, you are.
delineation.
These are the questions that were put in the RDA, so that's what I went, okay. Those are the boxes that were checked.
I see.
The next one was whether the work depicted on the plan is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, jurisdiction, subject to the act. And that's the point we're kind of debating, is it subject to the act or not? Because.
No, I agree that it's
I think
absolutely subject to the
right?
act.
Doesn't
It's-
require notice of intent.
Right, so it's the.
Because you believe the RDA can be conditioned and recorded and essentially act as an order of conditions.
That's right. So the instructions that DEP has provided with the WPA Form 2, Determination of Applicability, guide the commission on issuing a negative determination. So you're able to check the applicable box, and
all
box
aware of
number
that.
3 is if the activity is within the buffer zone. Yes, it is. And then if you're able to determine that that activity will not alter in areas subject to protection under the act. So the buffer zone is subject to regulation, it's not subject to protection. Where we have an existing parking lot, we want to repave the
Get that.
parking lot.
So, now, can I finish, please?
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Or you check positive that the activity requires a notice of intent because the activity will impact the wetlands, which the stormwater, the way I'm reading is, the stormwater will impact the wetlands. It falls under redevelopment. You should file a notice of intent. But so that's where my thought process was coming from. That it's 10.056K7 redevelopment, it should meet those standards. And then whether the work depicted on the plan is subject to the bylaw. And again, I said yes. So I guess if the commission, and you say there's 2 issues, and I agree, there's an enforcement issue because there's dumping and alteration that's occurred over some time, but to me, it seemed like it was present time, not just past time. So that can be handled under enforcement order if the commission feels they want to issue the negative determination with conditions tonight so that you can move forward. They could do that, and then we could write an enforcement order to address the other issues. But I would say that the determination should include that the wetlands line is not accurate, because I can't verify that it's accurate the way that it's
Okay.
delineated at the moment. I'm not totally comfortable with what you submitted for the stormwater management, so, but it's up to you guys. that, if what you're saying is that that is the best practical stormwater management you can design for this site, then I guess.
We're not,
So,
it's the same as, even if you do new construction, but there's existing pavement or rooftop, you're not required under the stormwater management regulations, you're required to include that in your pre-development runoff, right? But you're not required to then say, oh, I'm gonna now pretend that those aren't there in my pre-development and then make my post-development the same as that? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. This is existing condition. If I give you a pre and
I
post.
understand that, John, but I'm looking for an improvement to nothing. So if you're saying the improvement to nothing, this is the best you can do, then I guess we have to take it. The best you can do from nothing to some water quality and volume design stormwater management, then that seems to me what you're saying, that based on the conditions and the space that you're meeting the redevelopment standards, most best practical, I can't remember exact words, but by this vegetative swale. Is that
Right.
correct? Because you're going from nothing to this is the best we can do given our constraints.
Right, so our focus was on the two requirements for recharge and for water quality. I mean, simply by putting it there, you're going to get, so in a 2-year storm, 3.2 inches, a half of that inch is going to go into the ground. There's probably more if we stopped and, figured out how fast the water's going to soak into the ground and this and that.
So
But
it's gonna have to be constantly cleaned out, I imagine, in order to be maintained as designed, because sediments are gonna go.
sediments have to be removed probably once every 5 years or so.
You think only once every 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, John, you put that stormwater management in the space where you could fit it. You didn't take any of the parking lot, the existing parking lot space.
No. Between the edge of, this is the existing edge and the proposed edge of the parking lot. Nothing's getting any bigger. So between that and the slope,
Right.
there's a fairly large, I wouldn't call it huge, kind of level area that's, there's some pine trees and stuff back here, and there's some vegetation there, maybe not. Maybe it's just grass.
really just grass.
So that's where we're going to install this.
It's this area, it's one of the last
Yeah,
pictures.
but you could take some of the existing and make it bigger, wider, could you not?
You want me to go closer to the pavement? I don't want to go closer to the slope.
No.
So right now, that half inch of rain, that's 30 tons of water. Actually, more like 35. So that's a man-made slope. Now, it's in pretty good shape because all of those trees, those pine trees and everything have been growing there for the last 50 years or so. So I'm not all that concerned that it's just going to flop over. But I don't want to get any closer to that slope than we're there now. And we kind of fit it in there, so it made
Right.
engineering sense and common sense, right? We don't want to go in there and start,
No, but what I'm saying, you don't want to sacrifice any of the existing parking lot to make that bigger, is what you're saying.
As a practical matter, we can't sacrifice any of it because we would lose parking spaces, and we have a requirement of our zoning approvals to have the number of parking spaces we have. And if we were to relocate the parking lot and cut into the slope behind it, then you're cutting out pine trees and cutting into the slope. It would just be a mess.
No, I'm not saying that. No, the way the parking spaces are lined in your drawing, is that the way they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
we didn't change anything. The other thing, I mean, I'm not trying to sell you anything, and you're on that side, I'm on that side. But if you look at the records, and I know lately, hurricanes and all this stuff, but if you look at the records, in New England, most of our rainfall is in 1/2 inch increments or less. It's very seldom that we get 1 and 2 inches of rain. I know climate change and things are changing, but we just stick with what the DEP sort of requires us to do. In this case, it's 0.35 inches, pretty small, but that's what they say, and a ½ inch for water quality. But just in reality, that's a huge improvement here, because most of those smaller storms, the water never gets over the bank, where now it just runs off and runs down the bank somewhere. So you're getting a pretty good improvement, and I'm sure at some point the club will be doing the second part of this parking lot, and you'll get more improvement there. That's a little more challenging because the slope comes up a little bit closer to the edge of the,
John, can you extend that infiltration trench in either direction?
can I just have to look at this.
You've got a shed, whatever is next to the dumpster enclosure, and you've got room,
Yeah, the dumpster could be pulled back.
yeah,
We could extend it, I don't know about the shed. What's the deal with the shed? Extend it towards the shed? I mean, there's no reason that I know of not to do that. And we could probably extend it farther in the other direction, at least to the corner of the pavement there. But that's where, that pavement's set back here now, because that's where it starts to get a little steeper. But yeah, we could probably extend it.
And what would extend it do? What would extending it do? Increase the capture?
Yeah, increases the capture area, and it also increases the volume of material.
I'm sure Mr. Watsky knows DEP is in the process of issuing, DEP is going to be issuing revised stormwater standards because they realize that they're inadequate for today's being. So that's why our stormwater bylaw has 1 inch, capturing 1 inch, and they're going to be upgrading that, because that's what we're moving towards. That's what we're doing now under MS4 permits and our revised stormwater erosion control bylaws. So the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Stormwater Handbook is behind, not forward. Once they revise everything, they'll be at least present. So, just wanted to bring that up since
Yeah,
John was saying this is what we're
I know the
designing.
DEP is working on revisions to the regulations. They got something like 1,500 pages of comments to the last regulatory revisions that they proposed, and they're working their way through all those comments. Who knows when they issue new regs?
I think the issue at this point, from an applicant standpoint, following the existing regulations, we did increase our requirements a while back, didn't we? We increased the rainfall.
Yeah, under stormwater erosion control bylaw.
Yeah, which applies to this, is that right?
Well, that's another issue under the fast track permit, but that's being debated as well, so, I think we have other issues, you have other stuff on the agenda tonight, so, I think we should probably move forward at some point. To me, if there's so much debate of what's going on, it's a notice of intent, there's more information that needs to be submitted. Otherwise, you approve the plan as given for the parking lot, and we address the material on the slope under an enforcement order, a notice of noncompliance, a friendly notice of noncompliance, which they've already said they'll remove the material.
So, Mr. Chairman, if it would make it more palatable, we can extend this 15 feet towards the shed without an issue. We can put another one that would be 30 feet long right here. it would be difficult to connect these together, but
be
I could,
separate.
I could put another one there, 30 feet long. So you'd get, this is 120 feet, you would get 45 more feet of trench,
How long is the one you show?
120.
120, so you do another, how much, 30?
45.
45.
15 here,
Yeah.
and then another one. It's going to serve this, well, it's going to serve this area here, but another one here that would be 30 feet long. And it would be the same cross-section, if that makes it more palatable to everybody.
Although it still sounds like you're coming back with that as a proposal. I mean, it doesn't sound like on the spot we're deciding that this thing that
know,
has
so
just
that's-
been pointed out might happen, or,
So, I mean, in all honesty, I just try to meet the regulation, if I mean, I'm just trying to meet the regulation, but if that's more palatable, I mean, at some point, something, when they repave this, we'll be back in front of you and something's gonna happen there, but in the meantime, you put another 30 feet here, it'd be pretty hard to connect these, and then we can go 15 feet back towards the shed, so I can have a revised plan dropped off in the morning, so.
Your thoughts on that? I understand the situation as far as trying to get something done this season, but also we have to consider our issues, so we can approve this with the addition of the infiltration trench as John just suggested, and a friendly enforcement order on removal of the material that's on the bank between there and the wetland. Or require a filing for notice of intent. So what's your pleasure?
Well, we need revised plans, right?
Pardon?
We need a revised plan.
John said he could do a revision with to show the added infiltration trench.
Okay. What else do we need?
Well, the other would be an enforcement order to clean up the material that is
Right?
in the buffer zone, actually, I guess, in the first,
In the
whatever
tree.
number of feet of buffer zone.
Sorry?
Of what-
In the treat area.
In the treat area.
Yeah,
and
pretty much in
and what do
treat.
you do about the wetlands not really being delineated to our satisfaction?
Well, I think they could submit a revised plan with if the wetlands line changes.
If it changes.
Oh, so they would have to, once the material's removed,
Redelineate.
recheck the wetlands?
Yes, I would suggest that, yes.
Yeah. And if I
Once
may,
the-
if I may, my sense is we're not making the parking lot go any closer to the wetlands than it is now, and so I really don't need to have the wetland line confirmed for this purpose.
We do.
So we'll work with Landis on having, the materials that shouldn't be there moved and get that slope stabilized under the friendly enforcement order, and then the wetlands are wherever they are.
It's a steep
Bailey?
slope, it's not
Bailey?
like they're gonna move very far.
Really?
I'm
It's-
still a little
It's really steep,
confused.
like you
Wait a
can't
minute.
walk down it.
I'm still a little confused about the stormwater management, if it's work that we believe is under the bylaw. Our bylaw says an inch of,
The stormwater and erosion control bylaw says an inch. The regulations don't. We never revise the regulations. We just,
we go by the bylaws, right?
the stormwater erosion control bylaw has a 1-inch requirement.
So what are we gonna do with
The
that?
regulations to the wetlands protection doesn't have that.
Are you going to be able to pose this as a question that we can do aye or nay to? It's complicated. Are you going to be able to pose a clear question?
So I think we have the choice, is we approve this with the additions that John has said, and the friendly enforcement order or we require a notice of intent. Choice number one, approve this plan with the additions as noted,
And
plus,
-3 is what the applicant is requesting, meaning
Okay.
it's within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, but it doesn't require notice of intent.
Okay, and then what about the wetlands line? I mean, it's, you pull away all the fill and you find out what? I mean, you don't want this
well, we
on
can
record as
include-
being.
we can include that that would be, after that material's all pulled away, that the wetlands line be verified. Part of one of the conditions.
Okay.
That work?
You can do that?
Yeah, or, so what's, let's, working with what's here, plus the changes that we just discussed, or saying a positive determination and a notice of intent is required. Those are the two choices. Is that clear? Do we understand? Anybody?
So,
Okay, so we understand what the question is, so now which do we want to do? Someone want to make a motion for one or the other?
I'll make a motion that we do the negative determination with an enforcement order.
Okay, do we have a second?
second.
Okay? All in favor? Aye.
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 As long as all the stuff you just said is in it.
Yes.
Which is what? Because I got lost.
Okay, all right, because,
Because this is not the way, this is unprecedented to handle an RDA, to condition it such as this, so.
Yep.
It's not
So-
usually how the commission does.
so the
this.
new wetlands
So what-
delineation has to happen
So,
after all the.
The conditions are the foreign material and between the wetland line and the parking lot will be removed, properly disposed of.
you're gonna put that in the determination?
Pardon?
You're gonna put that in the determination?
As part of the, that's going to be in the enforcement order. The determination would be a revised plan that would show the added infiltration trench of 45 feet additional infiltration trench. That an enforcement order, do we need anything else in the determination?
Plaques, maybe.
Yeah, we should probably have,
Because.
just for future
Because
reference.
that stuff didn't fall down the bank by itself. You can use
For
the passive
future
voice,
reference,
but
we'd
it's
want
active.
the plaques that, nothing further beyond the 25-foot no disturb line. And I would say,
O&M.
O&M, yeah.
I don't know,
oh yeah, an O&M plan. The plaques, John, I would say we need enough of them so they're seen.
All the way out to there.
Yeah, all the way down into the existing parking lot,
Yep.
behind the existing parking lot. So I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
Excuse me, can I just come forward and I'm gonna give you a pen, or you have a pen, just throw them on there. We'll get it tomorrow.
Right. So where are we?
Can I ask another
Yeah, so
question?
the top of the bank, so here, this is the 25.
So we can record
is
an
the 25
RDA
foot.
which has continuing conditions?
So, we should start, as long as you've got that, we should go all
To get this work.
one end
So
to the
it's,
other,
you
right?
know,
Yeah, one end to the
As
other.
long as it's not
Can I ask another
on a regular
question?
basis.
Will the O&M have a snow removal
Yeah,
or
we'll
plan?
give you,
Yeah,
we'll give you a standard O&M with all of the.
right, because since sand was being dumped there up till a few
Yes.
months ago,
Yes.
what are you doing with your snow? probably going down the bank.
On the other side.
So the O and M's gonna include what you do with your vegetation, what you do with your snow, and what you do with your sand.
See that, the box, you got those? Okay. All right, what
When
else?
to clean out the vegetation, when to clean up swale.
Okay,
No, that's a good point.
oh, yeah, and cleaning the swale, yeah.
Yeah, the O and M plan
Just in case, just in case.
include your snow removal.
Yep.
Okay, what else? Well, give us an O and M plan for review.
Yeah,
Club for like dinners and,
You got that?
because you gotta
John?
spend so much a year.
Can you guys, sorry.
With the O and M plan, you'll submit for review. So you'll include stuff, and if there's something else that we want, we will add it. Okay?
and then the friendly enforcement order
Are we finished with the,
is the second thing.
are we finished with the determination? Anything else we need on that? Okay. All right, and then an enforcement order that will include removal and proper disposal of all the debris that's on the bank, all along the whole wetland there. I don't know how far, does it extend up towards the clubhouse? Up this way, or is it just pretty much in
Didn't go all the
here?
way down that area, it just was in the area of the parking.
Whatever debris is there, remove from that area between the wetland and the wetland line and buffer zone. The wetland line to be verified after removal of the debris and farm material.
And if necessary, a new plan with the wetland line, right?
Yeah, well, that's what, it'd be, the wetland line to be verified after removal of.
Yeah,
And a recording of the, this should go in the determination, right? The recording of the determination with the registry of deeds,
Yeah.
okay? Cover that. What else? Okay, someone want to make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a good evening. Landis, I look forward to working with you on it. I said I look forward to working with you on it.
Okay, great, well, you guys time to go out there and take a
We
look
should
at
try to
it.
take that enforcement
Which one?
order. Or no, this one.
Oh, that.
But you gotta read your next thingamajig. No, it goes the other way, doesn't it?
Well, there's a bin here.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to do the,
Okay, where are we?
do we want to do the enforcement
It's
order?
up to you.
I think we should.
We'll do that. Get
Try to
them
do
out
it
of the
in
way.
5 minutes.
I've heard that before. Okay, we have a violation notice that has been issued to Jonathan and Amanda Cleveland at 1035 Washington Street. This is, Landis reviewed aerial photos from 22 and 23, as some work has been done within the Springbrook, which includes filling wetland resource area, bordering vegetated wetlands and riverfront area, and the bank and land subject to flooding is located at this property. So, representing the Clevelands.
Hey, I'm John Cleveland. Nice to meet you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You want to fill in a little more?
Yep. So, while reviewing another site next door, I came across this particular site at 1035 Washington Street, and on the near maps aerial photography, March 30th, 2022, I noticed that this photo that shows the Springbrook, which is a river, that there used to be a kind of little island, and then an area of the stream that went around the island, and then discharges down towards Clark's Pond. Comes from Allen Pond Dam, crosses Washington Street, and goes around one property on the corner near Stone Street, and then goes into 1035 Washington Street. And I would sort of traced it back from that near maps. This is May 2022, where there's a bunch of stones in the yard. And then October 3rd, 2023, where the stones looked like they were embedded into the side of the river along the property, and the area which was before an island no longer was there. So it looked to me that there was an alteration that had occurred. It would be, so it's a river, so there's riverfront area, there's also floodplain, and there's bordering vegetated wetlands. So that's when I put together the notice of noncompliance, asked to visit the owner's property, went out and met with him, and he showed me the area, and he can describe what happened out there in his own words. But that's why he's in front of the commission at this point, because it's a violation of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw.
Yes, correct. So there was, my family's owned this house since 1960, since it was built. My great-grandfather built the house. And throughout the years, I'm sure a lot of things have changed. About 20 years ago, when I was a kid, my grandfather actually did dig out the stream and made a little pond, and it was a duck pond. There was a duck house on the island. So when I was a kid, we had ducks, chickens, and so he actually veered into the stream and then made a pond right there that went back into the stream. Throughout the years, as you can imagine, it kind of just filled up with leaves, grass, everything, and then it was just, by the time I bought the house from my mother back in 21 or 22, I was like, it's kind of more of like a liability, so I was like, let me just fill this back in and put everything the way it originally was. So I didn't think that I was actually doing anything wrong. I was just thinking I was actually doing something that was right by actually making the stream flow in the direct path which was the original state that it was supposed to be in. And if you looked on the other side of the stream, there was always rocks there that I didn't put there. There was existing rocks on both sides of the stream. I did add the rocks where needed, just to continue. I didn't raise the ground. I just filled in the areas that were man-dug by my grandfather back in the day. So so yes, I did fill it in, but it was not always there. Like back in the early 2000s, if you can pull up the picture, then you'll see that was never there, and it was always grass. There was grass on the island. That's where the duck house was when I was a kid. There was grass around the whole pond. It was just filled with leaves and dried up, so it just made zero sense to keep it. And it's still the whole stream the whole stream is overgrowth. It used to never have growth in it, ever. And now everything, you got cattails, and it's just crazy how much growth has happened over the years, just in the past 10 years, to be honest. It's because when I was a kid, even at Allen's Dam, I'd go fishing at Allen's Dam. We'd have fishing derbies. There was never any growth over there. And now if you go over there, it's awful what's happening to all the ponds in this area. And I didn't think that I was doing anything wrong by just making the stream go the way it was originally made to go.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Blandis?
I'm just curious, so in the corner of the property, so, yeah, down in that corner where the pond used to be, was the water from the stream flowing into your property? Was it flooding? onto your property?
No, it wasn't. It would just go around the island, and then there was a little rock right there, and then it would go right back into the stream. So it was just a veer off, but there was grass around that whole thing. And then it would just, it was kind of bypassing the stream, and I thought that was the growth, because I was like, all right, maybe everything's just more shallow over the years, and this is just creating more growth. So I said, let's finally get rid of this, and it was, just all leaves and everything.
And
So I
the
just,
stones in the bank, you weren't afraid that it was eroding your backyard, and that's why you're putting.
no, I put the stones back. I mean, obviously, I need to put the stones back just to keep the soil back to where it was, but there was always stones there.
Well, you
on
had a
both
pile of
sides.
boulders that you inserted into the bank.
Yes.
Because it was eroding? Because it was. the
No,
dirt
not
was
because it
falling.
was eroding. It wasn't eroding at all, because there was stones where, there was original stones there. I used the stones to fill in the spots that I had to put the loom back in and to go back to where it was cut out and then went back into the river. So where it veered off and then went around the pond and then went back in, I put the stones in that area and I put them,
It looked all along the stream.
yes, there was stones, there was original stones and there was added stones, correct. But you could also, you know that there was the stones on the other side where you can blatantly see where I didn't put any stones.
Okay. All right. Bailey, any questions?
No, no questions.
Doug?
No questions.
Media? Al?
Well, all right, just a comment. So before the Army Corps put in Allen Dam, there was all kinds of flooding down that spring brook in people's backyards, which then goes to Clark Pond and then
Yes.
goes on further, and I mean, it continues all the way on into downtown. And that was a huge project to prevent that. Whenever you mess around with a river, you're affecting downstream people. You're affecting your neighbors downstream, you're affecting the pond downstream, sediment, you don't like sediment, don't,
Yeah.
and then the pond beyond it and the pond beyond it. I mean, there's a reason that you're before us about a riverfront. They're actually kind of fragile these days because they can get sedimented up like that. So personally, I don't think I would want this fixed by you going in with a bulldozer and fixing it. I mean, to me, that's even more damage to potential downstream problems and the pond way downstream and the further ponds. But do you now have a lawn that goes all the way to the river?
I've always had a lawn that went all the way.
There's always been a
It was
lawn
always
all the
been
way
a
to the
lawn. It was a
river.
lawn before that pond was there.
I'm just trying to think
But
about.
I agree with you. That's why Allen's Dam was built, to avoid the flooding from
Right.
downtown.
Okay, I hope you didn't affect anything downstream by messing with it, because that would, I mean, there's a reason that in the 18th century, 17th century, privileges were given for doing things to rivers, because it would have a huge effect downstream. And so I was trying to think of what to do. We don't want you to go, I don't want you to go in with a bulldozer and straighten it out. But I'm wondering if there isn't, considering you might not be the last homeowner here, maybe you'll pass it
Well,
on
I'm
to
not
your
selling this
kids.
house.
No, but you'll pass it on to your kids and so on down the line. Maybe there should be some plaques or something. It's a riverfront area, don't,
I agree with you. I don't, like,
Okay.
when I bought the house, no one ever tells you when you're buying a house.
Okay.
That what the bylaws of, no one shows you anything when you're buying a house like
okay, all
that.
right. Especially
agree
if
with you.
especially if it gets passed down from your parents. All right, so I would be in favor of plaques and just an awareness of, that you're living on a riverfront and you got neighbors down below you in a pond that you really like. You like Clark's Pond a lot, I'm
Mm-hmm. I
sure.
love Clark's Pond. Yeah, I used to take a canoe from my backyard all the way to Clark's Pond, and now we can't do it.
Yeah, all right, that's all from me.
Okay. Landis,
Used to
do
be
you
able to
have
canoe
any,
My father skated down to Clark's Pond one year, actually. The river froze over when he was a kid.
you have any suggestions on how we can resolve this?
So, this is a tough situation, I agree, it's a little bit of a quandary. I'm in a little awkward position because I use Cleveland oil for my delivery, so.
So then I'll say, I propose that we have
I am leaving this
plaques.
to the commission,
yeah.
more to, you guys have been around for a long time, you know the ins and outs, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever the commission, feels is the best way to handle this.
Conservation
else?
plaques.
Any additional items anyone would like to see? We got
So,
suggestion for plaques?
Yep.
was work, is any more work to be done, or is it all the?
No, there's no more work. No,
Okay, so
not at all.
what it is now is what it,
That's what it's staying, yeah, of course, that's what it originally was, and that's the way it's staying.
okay, okay.
Okay? That all right?
Yep.
So, how do we do this?
Well, it's right
You
now, it's
have
just
a-
a notice of noncompliance,
You
so
have,
we could send
violation
him a
notice.
letter
Okay.
with the detail of our plaques,
okay,
requesting those to be installed.
so that, then that would, once they're installed, that would take care of the notice of violation. Okay. All right, so we'll send you a letter. You follow the directions in the letter and take care of it then,
Sounds good.
okay? So Landis will send you a letter of what's,
You'll tell me what to write on the plaque and how far away from the stream, I can put it on the stream,
Yes,
wherever.
we have a detail of what
Oh.
the commission
Do we have
prefers.
to move?
and how many, I don't know, how long area-wise, lengthwise, what is that? I would say, what do we want to have? How many plaques would be appropriate? 3, 4?
4?
Four plaques, and you give us an indication. They should be placed so that they're, wherever you're making a turn, so spread around your property. I don't know how big that property is where the river comes around.
Maybe 100 feet,
Okay,
maybe a little under 75 feet.
okay, but you got a
The
couple.
pool's 40 feet, so based off that, maybe 80 feet roughly.
Okay, but you got some bends in there, right?
Yeah.
That goes around? Yeah,
Yep.
where there's a, like, where there's a corner.
It's pretty straight in the backyard, and then there's a big turn right on the left side, actually, where the island is, where the
Okay.
island was.
So that will,
Yeah, the
so
existing
f-
is more like here.
yeah. So 4 of them are spread out around there. And you can ask,
Okay.
before you actually set them in, you could ask Landis to review that, where you plan to place them,
Sounds good.
okay?
Question,
Yes,
given there's now grass that goes all the way up, are you just curious and hoping you're aware of some of the restrictions about fertilizing and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
no, I don't use any fertilizer there. We used to have chickens, I don't have chickens anymore, but no, we don't use any fertilizer, it's just grass seed.
Well, I think you can, it's just there are certain, times.
Oh, there's there?
I think so, I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot of weeds back
There's-
there, so.
There's just some other, I understand what you mean by buying a new home and not understanding all of the
Yeah.
things that come with that, and these are some of the things that I learned throughout the process too.
Okay.
So there's just some more things that you could learn.
Yeah, it's a new home, an old home, but as I never knew any of the, no one ever told me anything about, like, what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so you also now are aware of the wetlands section. and
Yeah.
local bylaws. So if you're gonna be putting in any additional structures, excavation, fill, removal of vegetation,
Yep,
you would have to,
come to
probably
you and
that's-
get a permit, is that,
Well, contact me and then I can tell you if you have to file a permit.
okay, you said that's within 200 feet, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, because of the riverfront.
all right,
okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Did we have the vote, Jack?
Yeah, we'll make a motion to cover the violation
I'll move
notice
that.
directions.
Moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you all.
Good,
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Where are we? Okay. This was continued, we did.
This is the hotel.
I think that's right.
Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conservation Commission, Wetlands Bylaw, Notice of Intent, Stormwater Bylaw, Land Disturbance Permit, in accordance with Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Genstar to construct at 32 Industrial Road, Walpole, Mass. Map 46, Lot 1, multi-use office and maintenance building, with vehicle service bays greater than 40,000 square feet and within the 100-foot buffer zone of an isolated vegetated wetland. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing above matter will be held in person, June 12, 2024, beginning 7:15 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. We have a email dated October 17th. Soil test pits have not been conducted. We'll coordinate with town engineer to do so. We'd like to request a continuance, the next hearing on November 13th. So, what do we have on for November 13th? Nothing? All right. So we can make this 7 o'clock on November 13th?
Yep.
So I'll make that a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600, okay. That's at 7 o'clock. Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Conservation Commission Land Disturbance Permit in accordance with Walpole Stormwater Management Bylaw. The general bylaw is hereby given the intent of Jyton Hotel Management at 2375 Boston Providence Highway, Walpole, Mass. Map 57, Lot 30, to construct a new 4-story hotel, associated utilities, 12,742 square feet, altering over 40,000 square feet of land requiring land disturbance permit. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person, August 14th, 2024, beginning at 7:40 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. And do we have anything new here?
Just a letter from the applicant. The letter from the applicant addresses the changes that were made at the planning board meeting. And you can come forward. The applicant engineer is here, and perhaps he can explain, rather than reading the whole letter, to save a little time. My understanding is most of the changes didn't really affect the land disturbance permit, which addressed the stormwater management and construction, stormwater management. But I did get verbal confirmation from the town engineer that everything has been reviewed and written and organized and underlined to his satisfaction.
Go ahead.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from J.K. Holmgren Engineering. As Landis mentioned, we had several meetings and discussions with Carl regarding the stormwater report and how that was presented. We did meet with the planning board last week. That letter that Landis referred to, we did make some changes that the planning board had asked for. We also made some changes that the fire department had requested. In that letter as well, Carl had a bunch of changes that were also requested and were made. We have a water and sewer meeting that's proposed for Monday, October 28th. And we did receive an additional letter from Carl, which I stated in this letter that it's really kind of housekeeping, nothing that'll affect the parking lot or the size of the building or the stormwater. Really, it's just kind of cleanup stuff. It's I would call it minor drafting changes, if you will. So we'll be making those changes probably the next couple of weeks, and we'll be returning to the planning board in December. So that's kind of an update of where you, of where we are. If you'd like, I can answer any more questions that you may have.
Okay. Landis?
I don't have any more specific comments to make.
Is there anything particular from the planning board's changes that we should be aware of?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Okay. Good.
The holdup was more of, and I think I explained this before, of the review by the town engineer, just connecting the plan and the stormwater report to follow the chain of the drainage to make sure that he was comfortable with it. That kind of summarizes it. But nothing changed after that. It's still underground infiltration system, a bioretention area in the front. You could probably describe it better than I can if you want to just do a quick summary of what's on site.
Yeah, so the meetings we had with Carl, really, there were some minor changes to the stormwater, but essentially what you saw in the beginning really hadn't changed a lot. Really, the changes that Carl were requesting was just how it was presented and how things were directed to a certain spot and how it was named. To Landis's point, that particular section of the property, which we're calling Phase 2, everything is handled for 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storm. There's 2 infiltration basins in the parking lot. One basically handles a small section of the parking lot and the rooftop. The second infiltration basin handles the remainder of the parking lot. There's a small area out by Route 1, a triangular-shaped area that does go to a proposed bioretention area that has a sediment forebay. Again, that's designed for the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. So when we finally talked to Carl and got him to the point where he was comfortable with what we were doing, the explanation really was everything on this site is, if there are things that are going off-site, which is an area that goes towards the north, towards Jason's path, it's a reduction in area, it's a major reduction. So all the things that are going off-site are either the same as existing or reductions. So basically, the whole Phase 2 parking lot and building is being handled within that area. So once that was determined and once Carl was comfortable with it, that's where we ended up.
Okay. Bailey?
No
Question?
questions?
Doug?
Where is snow removal storage? I don't see it on this.
The snow, that was one of the comments that was made by the planning board as well. There are areas that were on the original plan for snow storage in the site plan, and then we added some additional snow storage areas on this.
Does it show on this plan?
It shows on the site plan. I believe that's sheet C3.
What sheet is that?
He's on C4, but we have C3.
Is it that plan or is it C3?
It's C3. So essentially, the areas that we're talking about are back in here, back in here, and then there's that triangular-shaped area over here as well.
You know, just do that again. I don't see sheet C3 in this set. This is the,
This is the,
Oh,
C3. It's different than that C3.
Let's see.
C3's up on the screen, though.
It also shows on sheet C4, by the way.
oh, it is in C4?
Other areas back here, that looks like a tree area.
you want
For
it,
you, yeah.
it should be on C4.
I'm sorry, C4, you're right.
The original set had C3, but the revised has.
Gotcha.
In the site legend are some of the areas that are pointed out, and I believe the snow storage is U. Yeah. Okay.
You.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you're,
Okay.
how are we identifying the snow storage?
Yep, it's the letter U.
The letter U.
Excuse me, thank you.
Can you show us where you are on this?
The letter U.
Okay, there's a lot of letters on there.
So it's the triangle here
Okay,
and up here.
okay,
And so there's the triangle up near
There's
the,
one, this area over
and
here,
where's the
Okay.
other spot?
and this one over there.
Here.
And then here and there in the shrubbery.
Shrubbery.
I can see a few more.
well,
Small area.
we'll see how it gets plowed. Okay. Anything else?
That was it.
Okay. Medio?
All set?
Al?
I don't have anything.
That's it.
Nope.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Okay. So we'll make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 600. And we have an,
I was just
That's it.
proposing to
And-
put our boilerplate land disturbance permit, which, conditions which addresses construction management, stormwater management during construction, said it twice, and maintenance of stormwater structure. I don't have anything special to the site, unless there's something the commission wants to add.
is there O&M plan for,
Yes.
there is, okay. We just reference, is that referenced in the order? That-
We referenced the stormwater management plan.
Okay.
I have been including in the orders to have the O&M plan posted somewhere, so
Okay.
have that requirement.
Was there anything that required reports to the commission?
No, because there's no replication or restoration or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Someone want to make a motion for the order?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We haven't been asking if anyone in the audience has comments, but it's
I did.
okay.
I
Oh, we
did.
did? Oh, we
I
did?
did.
Okay.
What was
Yeah,
it
you
last
did.
week?
Oh, we did, okay, all right, all right.
I heard you.
Good. Okay.
Wow, you're
No,
fresh. That's-
well, no, I'm just saying, I see people in the,
I know.
Yeah, I think that's for the next application, I believe. And perhaps the request for modification.
Donald Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conservation Commission, notice of intent. According to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Marco Gioso Jr. to construct 16-foot access driveway for two single-family residential lots, underground utilities, grading, and stormwater management system within a 100-foot buffer zone of the wetland resource area located off Winter Street, Walpole, Mass., map 55, lot 5. Application plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing, the above matter will be held at Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, October 23, 2024, at 7:15 PM. All interested persons request to be present. Okay, anything to read in? Nothing to read. So, representing the applicant,
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Glossa, Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole, and I'm here representing Marco Gioso Jr., who is the applicant, and Marco Gioso and his brother Daniel are the owners of the property. Let me get a plan.
sure we're on the one he's on.
And let me say before we go too far, this is a little bit of a work in progress. I filed a preliminary plan a while back with the planning board. It took a while for the property to sell, for the Josos to buy it, and then we were sort of ready to go ahead with the filing with the planning board and the conservation. Conservation is holding their hearing well before the planning board, which is going to be December 5th. So I would certainly expect the board to, unless you don't want to, but to continue this hearing for some time. Landis can explain, there are some, we call them issues, but there's some items to be confirmed, et cetera. And as I said, we're way ahead of the actual planning board hearing, which isn't going to be till December 5th. And you'll understand why in a second. So this is an existing conditions of the property, which would be, do you have this, you have the full subdivision
We have
plans?
kind of a strange set of plans.
You,
What number is that?
G2. So you have a full,
Sort of.
you have the, some of you have like the pre-enclosed.
This one looks like the one we should be on. This one looks
And a sheet of, there should be 10 sets of plans. 10 sheets of plans.
This is an idiot, okay.
This is You had it right the first time.
Okay.
Should say sheet 2,
It doesn't.
Where?
down here in the lower right corner.
Okay, sorry.
No,
No,
you have the pre and the
but
post.
it sort of matches what you got. Oh, another set?
There they are.
But wait, there's more.
I'm not sure what you have.
Those are the pre and the post plans that go with the drainage.
Sounds like it's coming from that way, but I can't see anything.
That's the full subdivision.
Do you see anything going on out there? We hear this car alarm happening. Yeah?
No,
Oh, okay, we're good then.
hear it, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Where's the car alarm?
It is a weird car alarm. It almost sounds like a police car, but it's been going on for minutes.
Not mine, is it?
I hope not. We just looked around, we didn't see anything.
Okay. Oh, it sounds like it's that way.
Right.
Okay, so if you were traveling down Winter Street towards Summer Street, towards Washington Street, right, from 1A, right, you kind of go along, the road's pretty straight, then you go kind of around a long sweeping curve, it kind of goes down the hill and it's level at the bottom. This is where this property is. It's on the left side, just after you get around that corner. It's before Hollandale Farm Road, which would be on your right, on the opposite side of this. It's about, I think it's on here. It's, no, maybe it's not, but it's about 300 or 400 feet before Hollandale Farm Road. And it's before Eldor Drive, which would be the next street on your left. And some of you might remember or recognize the name, but Charlie McLaughlin, he was the owner of this property. He developed Overlay Road, which is right up here. And Charlie also built these houses along Winter Street. And some of you may remember, there used to be a train track came through here, right, with a trestle overhead? Anyway, so that's where it is. And when, I'm gonna call him Charlie McLaughlin, I worked with Charlie, on some projects over the years. When he, developed this property along Winter Street, he left this stub into this back property, which meets all the current requirements of the planning board's rules and regulations. So it's 46 feet wide, and it has 30-foot roundings where it comes out to Winter Street. So it was laid out to be a subdivision road. So Charlie's sons and daughter came to me a few years back about, is this land developable? So obviously the biggest question is how much wetlands are there? And so Karen Skinnicatroni, who flags the wetlands for me, flagged the wetlands, and I've highlighted them in yellow. So there's a large area of wetlands right sort of through the middle of the site, right here. And then there's upland here that goes out towards Overlay Road. And then there's this upland here, which is kind of unusual because when you go out there, everything's fairly flat, and all of a sudden this piece of property jumps pretty high up in the air. You can see this is elevation 206 here, and the wetlands are down at 192, so about 14 feet higher than the wetlands. It's a nice piece of property here, and this is actually pretty nice out here. So we looked at it in a few different ways, and you could actually subdivide this. I'm not saying I'm meeting all of the regulations, but meeting the zoning regulations and the planning board regulations and do a 5-lot subdivision. But that would create or require a fairly long street to come in and some significant expense. So other people who were coming to look at the plans, and I actually did file a preliminary plan with the planning board for a 4-lot subdivision. And then that was sort of split. Some developers are like, well, look, by the time you build all of this infrastructure, you're gonna just eat up all of the profit from the 2 lots, so why not a 2-lot subdivision? So the McLaughlins were willing to, they're just selling it, but they were willing to, take a amount of money where somebody was willing to buy this for a 2-lot subdivision. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, I'm just gonna show you quickly what our concept is for this site, and then sort of explain to you how we get to that. We do have some, I know what I have. Actually, I do have some of these plans, the 2 sheets that we're probably going to focus on. We have some of these sheets. So there's 2, there's one, there's a different one on the bottom.
It's a lot of paper, John.
Yeah, there's a ton of paper.
A lot of trees.
Okay, so I don't know if you know the Giosos. The Giosos live next to Adams Farm on the right side. So if you're driving in Adams Farm, those houses that are on the right side, there's one up near the street, that would be Luigi Gioso. He probably died 10 years ago. I did a lot of work for them. And behind is Marco, and Marco's 2 sons, Marco and Daniel, and then on the left side, abutting directly Adams Farm, is Gino. So they're a Walpole family. Marco and Daniel are at an age where, they're gonna be wanting to either buy or build a house soon. So the father came to me and their mother, and I said about this piece of property. And so what I said is, if you're just looking for 2 lots, this is probably something that can be done reasonably cost and reasonably engineered. The planning board didn't vote on this, but when I brought them the 4-lot subdivision, which was a preliminary subdivision which they had to vote on, I presented this to them, and I said, would this be more palatable? And they couldn't vote. I said, but if you like this, just you can do this or you can do that. So I got a lot of yeses. So what we would propose to do is to build, just simply build a common driveway here. We're showing it at 16 feet. The fire department is now telling me they want this 20 feet. And then it's going to split into 2 driveways, one for a house. Now, this is only a concept, so, you know, if this house gets moved over here or over there or something, that's, you know, hasn't been decided yet. So one house back here on this part of the lot, so this lot will be broken into 2 lots, a 5-acre lot and a 1.5-acre lot here. And so they would each have driveways. And so your question is, John, how does that work? Well, what we do is we go to the planning board and we show them what we call a proof plan. So we say, you know, on the planning board, we could create this and meet all of your requirements, which is a 26-foot wide road, sidewalk on one side, a cul-de-sac with a 44-foot diameter turnaround, and then driveways would go to the houses. So upside of that, for the town, I don't know, they get a big road, there really isn't a big upside. Upside to do this for the town is that this remains private, and the town doesn't pave it, they don't plow it, the trash gets picked up here, essentially it's private development. So 2 lots, that's what we filed with the Conservation Commission, that's what's going to be in front of the planning board. So that's what's being brought in front of you. So I'm just going to go back now to the existing conditions. So
John, just to be clear, the driveways and the house lot constructions aren't part of this particular file.
just the common driveway. And so I've got my draftsman working on the 2, I understand,
I just want to be clear about what this notice of intent is for.
Yeah,
Is for the driveway, not for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
crossings, not for the houses, not for the lot
Right,
construction.
and that's the
That's
plan.
my only comment at this point.
Okay, but there is some sort of it's gonna have to work a little bit different with stormwater management. We're gonna have to do it 3 different, I know what you're saying, we're gonna do it all as if it was one, but they have to be 3 separate things. It's not like a standard subdivision where I
I'm
can.
not even talking about that right now.
Okay, so it's, this is a 7.5 acre lot, as I said, it's, wetlands in the middle, this is mostly all wooded, this is all wooded here, this is wooded here, and then this is, the driveway going in is just like high brush and stuff and scrub and this and that, or this 46-foot, not a driveway, but this 46-foot wide swath going in. If you walked in there now, you have to sort of follow a path that's been walked on back and forth by, us and others. That's what it looks like right now. That was the proposal, is to just build the 2 lots, and then what is in front of you now is, and this is sheet 4, so here's a covered up version of it. So here's Winter Street out here. Here's our, now again, we're showing it 16 feet, but the fire department, I didn't want to be changing plans. I knew about this before I came here, but I didn't want to be changing plans on it, like coming and having different things, but eventually this will be lined out 2 feet on each side. But the 16-foot wide road coming in here. We're gonna leave a stub here for that driveway. That's gonna go right along this lot line here to impact the wetlands here as little as possible. And then we're leaving a stub here, which is aiming at the place where those wetlands are the narrowest, so that the alteration, there is gonna be some alteration in the future to the wetlands. We're gonna come in with a plan. It's probably gonna be less than 1,000 square feet. To me, they're both what we call a limited project. In other words, the only way to get to our uplands from our public street is to cross it. We're gonna cross them at the minimum, or the maximum, the minimum requirement from the planning board. And then we'll, obviously ask for approval from this board. The other thing that I did here, which you may or may not like, and I can give you a formal letter. So this driveway is pitching down fairly good from the street, about 8%. We put a level area up here, 8%, and then it's level down here. You have catch basins here, drain manhole, and then essentially we have an above-ground infiltration basin. So I told my guy who drew it to stretch it out as much as possible. So why? Because the spillway is set at the 100-year storm. So the spillway's at 199.52. The bottom of this is at 199. So in a 100-year storm, 6 inches of water. Anything, obviously, less than a 100-year storm, you're gonna have a little bit of water. So why is that good? Because so by calculation right now, it goes away in 17 hours. But we want the water, the rainwater to sort of soak in, as rapidly as possible. We don't want to sort of make a mess out there. And the other thing is, if we can keep the water low and stretched out, then we can plant wetland plants in here. I can, hire someone who knows about that stuff, what we should plant in there. Right now, we're just showing conservation mix at the bottom. But, my opinion from experience, I think that's the best way to do it. So what's gonna happen, we do have some work close to the wetland flags, obviously within the 25-foot no disturb. Here's the 25-foot no disturb. So I'm just asking you if that's okay. You don't have to vote tonight. If that's not okay, the solution for me is not that difficult. I'm just gonna, probably put a wall here and make this all a little bit higher, so then the water comes up higher. So every square foot I lose here, I have to make it, or every cubic foot, I have to make a cubic foot of water up higher. So if it gets up too high, by calculation, it has to go away in 72 hours. I'd rather see it go away in, 10 hours, and not have all that water sitting in there, which, over time can create some problems. But it's just meeting the regulations. So I would prefer to do it like this. I would probably prefer to vegetate this, so over time it probably turns into a wetland anyway. So now your buffer zone really is, or your 25-foot no disturb is turned into a wetland. So it's matching the disposition, composition of the land right next to it. And so that's pretty much it. As far as utilities, this is going to have an 8-inch water main, and it's going to be on sewer, pump sewer, grinder pumps that pump up. They've already brought the gravity pipe into the site, and gas. So, like I said, it's a little bit of a work in progress. Landis and I met out at the site. Landis had some questions on some of the flags. I had Karen Skin-Catroni go back out We did adjust some of the flags, and then we adjusted some of the flags, not only over here, but over here as well, and then a little bit farther along that doesn't show in this plan. But they don't really, I mean, obviously we want to get everything so it's, you know, correct. We're not showing anything that's not correct. But, so we're a little bit of work in progress. So I hope that is amenable to the board, but at this point, I think it's more of a exchanging some information, and if you have any ideas or anything you'd like to see changed, that would be something we can add to the plan, subtract from the plans.
Okay. Thank you. Landis?
Yeah, I looked at the plan, and I went out in the field with John one time and had some questions, as he's already stated, about some portions that we reviewed of the wetlands line. So I asked to have it looked at a little more, and that the Mass DEP, the new wetlands delineation forms be filled out and provided to the commission, as well as a summary of the wetlands. I know this area has been a farm. It's going out there and just walking around. It seems like there's a lot of stuff that's happened down there. So
It's been altered.
it's been altered. It's clearly been altered, and it's not just when it was a farm, because there's a lot of vegetation that's quite new. So I just think that the wetlands line needed to be really reviewed more thoroughly, and the history of the site be looked at, and areas that it was farmed, or if the areas when you first walk in have been, the vegetation's been cut, or there's been fill put in there. I don't know. To me, it looked like a very altered site. So I want that reviewed thoroughly. I did mention with the basin that the Commission's been pretty consistent that even basins aren't located within the 25-foot no alteration area. The basin needs to be, the soil tests need to be done in the basin and observed by the town engineer. And so that needs to be looked at. And I think my other comment in my report, and I gave to John, that I believe it needs a land disturbance permit, so that the stormwater needs to be designed for the land disturbance permit regulations, because in our regulations, it states that land that is of a common plan, being a definitive subdivision, that you look at the cumulative impact. So it would be all the impact. It would be the road coming in, and it would be the long driveways, and it would be the house and whatever's around the house. It would be the cumulative impact.
And I understand that, Landis, and I'm not making any excuses. I've had my draftsman, it's like, when are you gonna finish this thing? And
That's a work
so,
in progress.
so before you vote on this, you're gonna have the plans of the lots and the stormwater calculations and report for each individual lot. So I understand, I agree with you 100%, but it's just because this isn't like kind of a standard subdivision where we're just putting in a road, and then, you know, you got the lots are kind of pitching out to the road, or the pitching here, we go, oh, we put this here, put that here, kind of like the hotel that was just here, you know, you can kind of figure out how it's all gonna work. But this is a little bit different, because, you know, we've got the road here, and then we have the driveway and that house way back there, and it all sorts that has to kind of be done a little bit separately, but when you put it all together, it's gonna meet the requirements of the stormwater management. And so, and I will fill out the application and make sure that everything that's in the local bylaw is addressed in the design and report, right? Right now, and I know we're not, so just for the board's education or whatever, because it's only a 2-lot, single-family subdivision, it's not subject to the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Regulations. That's just the way, when you read it, applicability does not apply. But what it is subject to, we're in an Area 3, and we're also subject to the planning board regulations. So in Area 3, if we cover more than 15%, which I don't think we are, we have to do certain things. But under the planning board regulations for a subdivision, you can't have any more runoff of either rate or volume. So that's why this basin, why I like to have it nice and spread out. So the whole volume of water, up to and including a 100-year storm that comes down this driveway, goes into this basin, and then after 17 hours, goes into the ground. So that's kind of even above and beyond, I think, what.
Not above and beyond the stormwater residual bylaw regulations.
Okay, but,
I think they're actually above the subdivision as far as
Okay.
rain data.
well, we always use the NOAA. We don't even bother anymore to even, we just go with the highest one, which is the NOAA, So I think it's like 9.58 or something. It's in the storm for the 100-year storm. So it's pretty high. So, but that's where we're at. So, but the local planning board regulations are above and beyond the Massachusetts stormwater regulations for that. So,
Okay.
okay.
Anything else, Landis?
No.
Bailey?
I just have one comment, sorry, snacking. All the water's running towards the wetlands from the road, and if the homeowners are gonna be maintaining this, does the basin account for salt in the wintertime and, that kind of stuff, because I'm kind of concerned with the placement of these driveways, and knowing how it gets really cold, they're gonna need to be plowed or shoveled, and people wanna use salt, and that would be not so great to get into the wetlands.
Okay. So, and I'm not trying to push this off, but I think once we get like the other, you're gonna get 2 more filings, one for each lot.
Yeah.
And then we can then kind of look at the plan all together and look at.
No, I'm just commenting because you gave us a plan, and I'm looking at it, and the driveway goes right through the wetlands, and we're talking about how the owners are gonna have to maintain it, and the water from the road is running towards the wetlands too, so I'm just calling that out.
I understand. So, like I said, though, we'll have a little bit more information on how those driveways and how those rooftops are going to drain, and then we can talk about, the use of or not of salt.
That's all.
Doug?
No questions.
Video?
Not right now, nothing.
Al?
I'm a little concerned about, we have to alter wetlands in 2 places. And for many years, we had this guideline that said we're only allowed to have one wetland crossing to enter. So now it looks like we're gonna have to deal with the wetland in 2 places, one in the left-hand branch of the driveway and one in the right-hand branch. The one in the right-hand branch goes through the wetlands, and the one in the left-hand branch only fills in a part of a corner of a wetland, wetland flag 17. Okay, so without seeing how that's proposed to come into play, I'm not sure we should be approving a plan for a driveway that's going to, in the future, require that we okay going through the wetland in one place and filling it in another place. That's my problem here in my head. When this whole area, and this side of Winter Street, and then on the other side was all developed, it was pretty much decided that this central area here with the big wetland was not ever going to be developed. So that's, now we're finding a way to circumvent the regulations and come through here.
So I would
Whether or
just-
not they can do it without destroying the wetland, because it certainly would separate into two wetlands where it's connected together. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, anything else, Al?
Now,
Okay, Betsy?
Not at this time, because you're coming back before us, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think when we get all three filings in front of you, I think it probably have, you'd have a little bit better discussion as far as where these, but Al's right, I mean, we're gonna have a little bit of a alteration here to get to this upland here, and we're gonna have a little bit of an alteration here, this one obviously more than that one, to get to this upland. But I think when it's just that, file something with the planning board and you gotta file something with the conservation, because they're not gonna move until you guys move, and, you know what I mean? So, we filed it there, and then we kinda got bogged down with the individual lots. I'm not really sure why, but I got bogged down with that, that's my fault. But you will be getting those filings most likely next week. And that way, we can, put them all on once. I would still say it's up to the board, but you might want to wait for, at least for the planning board to, take a look at this. I did meet with the fire department. They're okay with it, except they want a 20-foot wide road instead of 60.
I think Betsy was,
Did you have
Oh,
something?
well, no,
Monica?
that was it, though. I just said, I think we're going to see you again. So now, Jack, what do you want to say?
Yeah, Al makes a good point. You're also showing some significant construction in the 25-foot no disturb area. So that's another issue we need to address. And I don't think we can really do much until we see the total picture. So, this will definitely be continued. Now, anybody in the audience have any
Can I
questions?
make one
Oh,
more comment?
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to make one more comment. So you had indicated previously that the driveway crossing is at the narrowest point. It's not at the narrowest point of the wetlands.
So
So,
that's just a concept. No, it's going to be, because if you look at where
but
it's,
then it'll be on the other person's lot.
it's on the other person's lot, yeah, that needs to be placed, that'll be placed in an easement. So there are gonna be,
Why can't you do the subdivision of the lot so that it's on the?
that's a good question, Landis, that's a possibility. But, I have to meet zoning, right, frontage and area, but.
Yeah, I
but
would
you're right.
suggest if you can, and since you
Yes.
still haven't gone before the planning board,
Right.
that you put that area between 29 and 14, which is the narrowest crossing point, be on the lot for the driveway that it's gonna be accessing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Liz. The only thing, Landis, so don't get annoyed if you still see the plans on the planning board's desk for me to present, because I can't change those plans now.
Yeah, no, I understand, I know how the
Okay.
planning board works.
But-
I'm
but
just
you're-
bringing up a comment, how it happens is
Yeah, okay,
between you
but
and the
you're
planning board.
100%, because it creates other issues with, a notice of intent where part of the land that's being encumbered is on someone else's land and blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So anybody in the audience that have questions and comments, please identify yourself for the record. You want to go up to the microphone, please?
Bill Hamilton, Precinct 5. I wasted part of my youth with IEP, and I think it's important for the Conservation Commission to realize that when they defined Area 3, they stopped at the Correction Department land. They considered that non-developable, and they saved the town a lot of money by not going up. But it was Area 3. The town purchased the land from the Correction Department and built the fields. And my area got flooded. We had a terrible time with the flooding. Basements flooded, it was a mess. Now, I think you have to take that into consideration when you go ahead and start altering. Even though these aren't major alterations, the fields weren't supposed to have an effect, but it flooded the neighborhood. Now, it wasn't fixed by the town. It was fixed, my understanding, was by a private person who had a bulldozer and somehow fixed it. So we were happy that it was fixed because the flooding stopped.
Just for your, to clarify that issue, there was changes in the design that, with respect to the drainage on the fields?
After it was
The
stopped.
flooding, yes.
Yeah, and after the fellow took
Whatever
whatever.
he did, but there were changes in the drainage system on the fields. So go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. That came later. That came later. But, okay, I just wanted to make sure that you have that in mind when you look at whatever alterations are being done. Because it was a serious, I mean, the water was very deep in that wetlands in back. It was huge. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. Do I have to sign this now?
If you would, please. Do you have any other comment? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. You go up to the microphone, please.
My name is Irene Gorsica. I live on Winter Street.
You want to go up to the, yes, you need to go on the
For the
microphone.
television people.
And
My name is
also,
Irene Gorsica. I live on Winter Street, 276, across the street from this development. These houses along Winter Street are all on septic, okay? Where they propose to build is significantly lower. You put a septic system in there, they're going to fail. The only way you can get rid of waste for these areas is to pump it up. Okay, you have to put a solid waste pump in there, pump it up that road, and tie it into the sewers at Hollowdale. That's where the sewers stop. Otherwise, the houses you build there, the septic system will fail within a year. And that's all I have to say.
if you would just sign in, please.
So just, Mr. Chairman, the town brought the sewer up in front of this property, and then it goes up through what I think used to be Spike Yonkers' property and up to the ball fields.
Yeah.
So that's the sewer that we're connecting.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. When do you expect to have some, whatever information you need to give us the information we need?
Well, so I'm gonna file those notice of intents next week. I don't know exactly what that,
No, for this application. When should we continue the public hearing?
Yeah, we need the other
My
two filings.
recommendation would be to put it after the first planning board hearing, which is December 5th. That's my recommendation, but if you want to do it before then, that's fine, but.
No, not if you're not ready.
If you're not ready.
No.
Well, it's just that I can't change the plans.
So sometime in
All
December.
all we want is a date right
What's
now.
our December
So,
meeting?
First meeting after December 5th would be, our meeting would be
December
December 11th. Will someone make a motion?
So moved.
7 this?
7 o'clock or 7:05? What do we
I
have?
don't, we don't have anything
We
else
don't have
on.
anything for
Seven,
December.
Make it 7 o'clock on December 11th.
Okay.
Is the motion made and seconded?
Second.
You all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Okay, so next on our agenda is a discussion on request to modify approved plans for Fairfield Residential 55 Summer Street, DP 315-1227. There's two requests for modification, one to the fence and the other is to an area behind townhouses.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thanks a lot for having me. I'm John Shipe with Fairfield Residential. I was here late September, and we had a brief conversation, and we touched on these topics. And so now we have filed, as requested, for two minor changes to the design plans. And I'd be glad to present them and hope that they're okay with you. And I was outlined in the letter that I drafted October 10th. One of the changes is to not install certain chain link fence that was shown on the plans submitted to the zoning board and was shown on the drawings that are approved by this commission. It's a chain link fence that runs along the railroad. It's in total probably 2,000 feet. Part of it goes through sensitive areas. And the zoning board included a condition that the fence be installed, but with the caveat that if this commission does not want the fence there, you can just tell us to not install the fence. So I put together a couple of convenient 11 by 17s. I hope everybody has those.
Well, sort of. Is there another one? Al and I need one.
Two here.
One down then.
You got two? All right.
Well,
No, we're good now. We're here. Nope, we're good.
you don't share with me.
This is, oh, you think it might be in here?
Got the chocolate candy.
No,
Bring more next time.
Whatever.
no. That's all right, we're fine, we're better.
I have an extra copy of it.
What do we do with
Anyone
this?
wants to, okay, you're good.
Just need to be written.
Well, so Patrick Deschaines did provide a letter of comment regarding the fence. So do you want to read it in?
Read it in now or after?
Whatever you want.
Well, why don't I do it now then? Okay, this is from Patrick Deschaines dated October 17. He's the Director of Community and Economic Development. One of the requested modifications that Fairfield Residential seeking with the Conservation Commission is to eliminate a portion of chain link fence separating the project site from the abutting railroad. This is indeed permissible request that the developer may make under condition G5 of their comprehensive permit dated July 14, 2021, and revised November 30th, 2023. Condition G5 states, the applicant has agreed to install an uninterrupted fence for the entire length of the project's developed boundary with the railroad right-of-way. Therefore, prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, applicant shall install a continuous, uninterrupted fence running along the entire boundary of the railroad tracks with fence endings designed to return into the developed site unless otherwise specifically precluded or as restricted from doing so in writing by the Walpole Conservation Commission or DEP, as the case may be. The intent of condition G.5 is to maintain separation between the project site and abutting railroad. However, this condition of approval also provides for flexibility to re-examine the extent of the proposed fence given the presence of a vernal pool and wetlands within the location of the proposed fence. See no issue with the removal of the fence along the section depicted within the applicant's October 10, 2024 letter to the commission, but concede to the commission's final judgment on this matter. So, good. Now, go ahead.
Well, that letter is, I think, well-drafted and spells out the topic at hand. I put together the sketches, SK 1, 2, and 3. SK 1 and 2 are basically just, the approved design plans, and I demarcated the portion of the fence that goes through the sensitive areas, and if that looks okay to you, it would basically just be to not install the fence within 100 feet of the wetlands, and on the other side, also, outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. It's all a wooded area. We kept the chain link fence on the other ends. Of course, it's not sensitive area, and it's closer to where we would have developed part of the land, the property.
Okay, so we've got, two sections. I'm looking at
Yeah, so the
SK.
first two plans with the red X's go next to each other. That's pertaining to the fence. The third plan is the issue of the retaining wall. So
Right, so
that's
let's-
not the fence.
Let's do
The
the
first two sheets.
first
are
two
the
sheets.
fence. Yes.
Somebody signed.
So it extends from the constructed wetlands all along to the edge of one of the larger buildings, or just short of the larger buildings.
Are we voting on these separately? Are we voting on these?
Yeah, she should vote on modifications. So I think
Separately.
the first at hand is the fence, which Mr. Shipe is describing the fence and why they want to not install the fence in the
Yeah.
wetlands and the vernal pool. And then once
Yeah.
you've gone through that, you can go through the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, the sheets, SK 1 and 2, is that a continuation on SK 1 from 2, or are these two separate sections?
SK1, if SK1 is here, SK2 is here, they connect like that.
So it's a continuation.
It's continuation. Right. You got it.
Okay, is that is that the match line there?
Yes, there's a match line.
Okay, so that's all one. How long is that? What's the distance?
The distance, what distance?
Of the fence that
The
you
fence.
don't want to put in.
To be eliminated, yeah, that's just shy of 900 feet. Continuing in a northerly direction, there's still about 1,000 feet of fence to install, and then on the southern end, there's maybe a little bit less than 1,000 feet that would be installed.
So we have roughly 900 feet of open area along the railroad tracks.
Yep, that's right. That would be in the woods, yes. Woods and wetlands.
It looks like a substantial portion of that is in the woods.
It is. All of it, with the exception of about 200 feet. It's not in the woods, it's next to the newly constructed pocket wetlands that we built, that look terrific.
Okay, so why wouldn't you have it in the wooded area?
Why would we have it?
Why wouldn't you have a fence?
Oh, because although it's wooded, it's also the wetlands. That's the areas where there's wetlands and vernal pool and the buffer zone to.
Oh, okay, this is,
There are still portions in the woods where we will be installing the fence, but it's not in the sensitive areas.
I'm just concerned, if you got woods, I expect there to be some number of younger folks in this development living. That's kind of a natural curiosity to go see what's in the woods.
Is that our jurisdiction, though, to have fences that keep young people away from?
Well, it's part of the requirement, and I think this should be part of our consideration, whether we allow, I can understand whether it would be less of a, perhaps less temptation, unless they want to go catch frogs, of,
Okay,
the wetland would be an issue, but there's a
I don't know, I
substantial
think I'd
portion of
rather-
woods here.
not have a fence going unnecessarily anywhere, whether it's woods, wetlands, vernal pools, and let some other department worry about what the kids are doing. Personally, I would,
Well-
I would move this and let's vote for it.
Part of the reason for the fence was to keep the people off the railroad right away. Expect that was the reason for having the fence to begin with.
Right, but didn't we discuss that before?
Yeah, we
Like
discussed
tromping
it
through the
last week.
wetlands and all that to get to that would be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah, I
arduous.
saw that.
that's kinda
in the
why we-
notes, but I think I just,
Oh, actually, were you not at the meeting, Jack, when we discussed this? I can't
I
remember.
read the minutes. No, I
Okay.
was not at the meeting.
Okay. Because we actually, I mean,
That's my thought. Well, if you got woods there, that you want to keep, the purpose of the fence is to keep people from getting on the railroad right away.
Okay, now, I've
And
got a
perhaps
question there.
wildlife. And maybe wildlife,
yeah, we were worried
Fence
about
keeps wildlife
wildlife
from-
crossing. When we talked about this like 4 years
Kinda
ago,
discussed this
we
in
were
last
getting
meeting
all
about not
excited about
having this
how are the
fence here, so
wildlife
it's
going to
kinda-
get through. I'm happy to not have a fence somewhere, and I don't think it's our jurisdiction to keep people off of a railroad track.
Well, the question is, if somebody from this development chooses to go out on the railroad and gets killed, who's going to be responsible?
The Conservation Commission,
Okay?
the lawyers will go right after
They're going to
us.
go after
Right?
us for
Yeah, I'm
not
just kidding.
having the fence.
No, they're not. They're not.
Well, oh, yes.
Oh, Jesus.
The requirements may not specify that, but I follow these kind of suits all the time, and I'm concerned that we, as a Conservation Commission, become liable if we voted not to have the fence. Now, I know it's possible to put a fence in wetland without big machines. They can use man-driven equipment to drive posts and to stretch the fence. So I'm sure it can be done without damaging the wetland by driving big machines through the wetland. So I know it can be done,
Why not put the fence
and I
here?
don't know if we want to go in that direction to say, well, okay, we don't need to have fences there, nobody's going to go out onto railroad. Well, I think a lot of people go on the railroad. I listen to the railroad horns every night and every morning when they're going through the area here in Walpole, and mostly it's because somebody's walking on the tracks. So I know it's an attractive nuisance, and it doesn't have to damage the wetland. So I'm not convinced that we don't need that fence there. I don't know if,
Can I ask why the fence was proposed along the railroad? Why isn't the fence proposed in front of the wetlands? At the boundary between the development and the wetlands?
okay.
Here.
I can't remember us ever being jurisdictional about fences to keep people off of railroad tracks. The whole thing just seems surreal. So 3 years ago, we got into a very big discussion about is there any way we can not put the fence through? And the only reason that ZBA knew about it such that they could bring it back as a special clause for us to deal with is because we had written a letter to them, you know how we write letters to different boards, this is years ago, and saying, everything's great, except is there any way not to have a fence going through the vernal pools? And which we were stuck with at the time. And Al, you spoke, as you usually do, about trying to get animals across the fence and how are they gonna do it, and the salamanders and blah, blah, blah.
And it's possible.
Well, except we didn't like it. And then the ZBA came back and gave us a chance to say, so I'm gonna vote in favor of, let's not have a fence that we didn't want to, I never wanted it to begin with. I'm really glad we have a second chance at it. And I don't want to get involved with any railroad stuff. I'm so glad it's not our jurisdiction.
Okay.
I guess what I was going to suggest, I showed to Jack, that if they need a safety fence, they can put a safety fence that doesn't go through the wetlands.
They can.
Okay.
That's,
So if the issue is safety, they don't have to put it right along the railroad.
but anyway, we have a chance to not
We're
have
just
something.
saying, don't put the fence in the wetlands. We're not saying, don't put a fence so
Don't
it's
ever put a fence
unsafe
anywhere, yeah.
for children who may go and want to cross the railroad tracks.
We're just being asked if
Say,
we
don't
want to
put the
get it
fence in
out
the
of the.
wetlands. If there's other options for
resource
safety, then they should take those options. Just suggesting.
I'm generally in favor of taking stuff out of resource areas.
So the other suggestion is to move the fence to the,
Basically,
be the
the limit of
westerly side of the wetland area. Is there a limit of works line around here? There's something,
I mean, I just say that as if the issue is safety, there's other places to put the fence other than through the vernal pools.
you're not in favor of putting the fence through the vernal pool of the wetlands?
I'm not in favor or against, I'm just providing
You're
information to the
suggesting an alternative.
Well, I'm suggesting that Al's issue, that the commission is voting on not putting the fence to a resource area.
Right.
You should not be voting on not putting a safety fence. Your vote should be not putting the fence to the vernal pool
Right.
areas, because that's your jurisdiction.
Right.
I
Right.
guess is my suggestion. Just-
Well, I don't understand why it isn't on the edge of the railroad bed, which is not pools, wetlands.
It is though, Al. If you go out there, the railroad bed actually goes like this, and the water is like right there. It's right there. It's right at the edge.
For this minor modification, or is it minor, whatever it is, this modification is about, do we not have the fence, or do we have the fence? It isn't about, where do you guys want to put a fence to keep people off the railroad tracks? I just, I would like
Well,
to.
let's let the railroad worry about
Yeah,
that,
good.
since they're,
Yeah.
but I don't want to go on record
The,
that I don't think that it's okay for people to walk on the railroad tracks.
Okay. All right.
Don't.
Don't think anyone's saying that.
All right, I agree.
I move that we, can I make a motion? Or we,
I'm just looking at the
I
wetland.
make a motion that the fence not be installed through the resource areas, as shown.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
600, okay.
Okay, so the next one, which is the third sheet in your packet.
This is this edge of this building here.
Which look like this. SK
Three,
3 of 3 is
yeah,
Oh, it's probably,
yep.
another request. Take it away.
Right, very good. If everybody has SK 3 of 3. This is an area between two of the townhomes and the woods that are behind them. And the limit of work was established on a set of plans, and we are holding our limit of work as, very important. It's surveyed using AutoCAD and survey. We know exactly where that limit of work line is. It was installed exactly per plan. The limit of work in some areas is only 5, 6, 7 feet behind the buildings. That was the original intent. What we have found is, and what the request is to ask if it's okay if we are granted permission to adjust the limit of work a little bit. What it would do is, as a for instance, in an upland area that is between 20 and 60 feet away from the wetlands, is that we adjust the limit of work by between 4 and 6 feet, just with grading. Grading to accommodate a little bit steeper slope up against the building with some natural, I like it to look natural. There's a lot of ledge out there, so we use some of the rocks and kind of build it up. At one point it was, thought maybe a wall, but a wall is kind of constructed thing. And to give it a more natural appearance, we're hoping to use boulders. And otherwise it's encroaching past the originally approved limit of work by between 4 and 6 feet. Again, we're not touching any wetlands. There is a pinch point at the 25-foot buffer zone, and we will hold that 25-foot buffer zone. We're not asking for permission to go into the 25-foot area. So it's pretty incidental. And it's going to be a judgment call in the field dealing with the existing conditions as to exactly whether or not it's a large boulder or a small boulder and what kind of fill. And then otherwise it'll all be restored with, some wet mixed meadow, grasses, that sort of a thing. So that's pretty straightforward, I think.
Okay. Landis, any comments?
Yeah, my suggestion is just after your vote tonight, if you believe it's minor modification, that we get more detailed plans showing where that grading is going and if those walls are going, if they are going.
Yeah, that's the part where I was alluding to it being a field call. If we have the flexibility to say, no more than 6 feet past the original limit of work, and then making sure that the surface is still a permeable surface and reestablished. I'd like that type of flexibility, because that way our landscape architect can kind of, work with the earth that's there. But it's definitely not going to be any closer than, more than 6 feet. And otherwise, it's just a natural, trying to, again, make it look natural. And then we can certainly provide an as-built.
Any other
And if
comments?
you want to meet out there, Landis, while we're doing it, whatever you want to.
So at the point where you're close at the 25-foot no alteration area, you anticipate putting a wall?
Yeah, probably, we've got a fair amount of boulders. We can put 2 or 3 boulders right there and
You know where that point is.
Pardon me?
You know where that point is.
I know there's a pinch point.
So you can't give a detail of the wall and,
Oh, it would be, it's kind of like the landscape wall, the small gardening you might do, where you just,
detail of the wall?
yeah, okay, yeah.
Right, just, walls are important items, and so we just like to have the detail of the wall.
Sure, yeah, and again, it may just be, 5 feet that way and 5,
It should be easy.
no. Okay, I'd be glad to. You think, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Otherwise, the other areas, you are going to be grading no more than 6 feet.
Past the original limit, yes, right.
And you can reflect that on the as-built plan. You have, in some areas, yeah, you have a lot of space, so. Okay, that's it.
Is it? Okay. Anyone else? Question? Bailey?
I was gonna comment on the same thing. Usually we get with a retaining wall, some kind of plan, and now it's boulders or a wall, so whatever it might be, maybe come back with what it's gonna be, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have that section AA that shows a wall there on the bottom. I know it's not the traditional wall look that you might have, but it's because it's no more than 2 feet tall, and it's, a few rocks laid next to each other and then chinked with smaller rocks, and, then you just have plants growing up. So it's really a minimalist type of a wall intention. But it's pretty straightforward.
Is that-
I guess I see, you've talked about boulders, I see a wall on the plan, and then it's retaining wall or boulders, so I just
Yeah.
don't
Well,
know what's going on.
And again, the field decision, using the existing soils that are there and rocks that are kind of stacking up a short area. And then there might be a stretch where there is no wall or boulder. There might be some area where there's just kind of a little bit steeper slope with some rocks in it. It really informal type of an effort.
So with your wall, you're not gonna be using any cement or anything to keep it in place?
No,
Okay.
that's a good point, and that kind of gives you the flavor of, and why we might be, miscommunicating here. It's not, we're not using mortar. This is dry stacked, if
Gotcha.
at best, so
Gotcha.
pretty. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
okay,
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's all, thank you.
Doug?
No questions.
Media?
So.
Al? That's it. Okay. Someone want to make a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Second.
And with the comments that Landis wants included, what was that? You want to,
I was just, so
You want
if I'm
detail.
hearing you correctly, you're not sure until you're out there in the field moving material around exactly where your walls are gonna be or where your grading's gonna be. Is that-
Yeah, we're going to make sure that, I know that pinch point that you pointed out.
Yeah, so why don't we go with just a detail definitely of the pinch point of the wall from A to B, where that wall is gonna go.
Okay. I would just ask if it's okay if I provide that to you and it looks good to you, we're good to go, and I don't have to come back and make another
Oh, no,
presentation.
no,
Okay,
no, it would be a
perfect.
condition of the modification.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we can do that, yeah. Thanks very much.
review with the agent?
Yep, great.
Okay, and was there something else you wanted?
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. So someone made that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
600. Good. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
There's nobody here?
We just left.
Oh. Come on, take it. Did they sign everything? they need to sign?
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, you still have stuff to do.
Okay, we have minutes from September 25. We want to move those?
I'll move those with a few corrections I made this afternoon.
Okay. You made some corrections. Any,
Yeah.
do we have a second?
Second.
Well, what was the
Okay,
correction?
yeah, good question. Nothing really substantive. It was just like a little things, tiny edits, you know?
There were a couple of typo type
Yeah,
things.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a, who seconded it? Emilio? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain?
Abstain. So 402. Okay, that takes care of that. Anything on conservation property?
You want to just do the extension first?
Oh, we have an extension.
Yeah,
Oh,
extension
okay.
for
Stone
300
Street.
Stone Street, DP 3151218.
Okay. So we make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a 12-month extension? Okay. We have something to sign?
Yep. And then, under the agenda is a general conservation property. And in my report is a request to discuss the Clark's Pond benches.
The benches.
I spoke with Rich McCarthy, and he informed me that at the last select board meeting, that the,
You signed on my name.
Oh, gosh.
Albert.
See, because this is an old form, I'm sorry, this is an old form, Al, so you're there. I can tell this is an old form because my name is spelled wrong and I'm not vice chair. So somewhere you found some old forms. I hope we didn't screw that up too much.
Okay.
But we did,
Extension.
that's the,
That's the extension.
yeah. See, I signed in the correct spot, but it's.
And I just followed.
Good for
I know,
you.
I know, I know.
Good start for
Okay,
David.
okay.
well, either that or just where you type in the name, change it around and type in the correct
Actually, you
name
could-
on the signature line.
It's a thought,
That'll take care of it.
yeah.
Type?
Type in, the name, the type, name.
Oh,
A
wait,
typewriter type?
she doesn't
We have a
have
typewriter.
Dean's on this too.
Print it.
Dean's on this?
they can't, we have a signature
Dean's
on
on
it.
this.
Print them.
Dean.
Are we really still signing
No,
this?
you can't.
Whatever.
It's okay.
Too late, we already signed it, it's done.
You have another
It's
one?
done.
Do we have another one?
You know what?
If we don't,
Just
we-
cross out Al
no,
Getz.
no.
I'm not touching
We
it.
need to do it correctly. It is fine. It can wait also. Well, is everyone gonna be at the next meeting?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, we'll have a clean sheet at the next meeting. It's fine.
God willing.
So we don't have to lose sleep over this?
What?
We don't have to lose sleep over
I
this?
would not
Okay.
suggest it.
Thank you.
There's too many other things.
No, we already are.
Thank you.
Okay, benches, let's
Oh,
talk
benches,
benches.
so that's where we
What
were,
did Rich
benches.
McCarthy
It's
say?
getting late.
He informed me
You don't
that
need no
the
sticky things.
last select board meeting, that the bench
Subcommittee.
subcommittee, whatever, had been approved by the select board on protocol for benches. He has had two people who want to donate each 2 benches for a total of 4 benches at Clark's Pond. My personal thought is one on each end. The bench in the middle stays, there's nothing wrong with it. These would be the new style benches that the town is getting. They installed, it's about $2,500 for the bench, $500 for the concrete pad. So total $3,000 per bench. His suggestion is that, and
Yeah, really.
with the 4 benches, one on either end, relative to where the one in the middle is, would be in a V shape and sort of face each other. He said they would have to move a boulder on the one nearest Stone Street. But the question is that okay with us?
Jack, you said 4 benches, 1 on either end and 1 in the middle.
The
Can
one,
you,
the one in the middle exists.
and then, so 2 on either end?
One set, one pair on,
Pair, okay.
to the left towards Stone Street, and one
Pair.
pair towards the woods.
So 5 total.
It'll be 5 benches total when they're done. So, I just thought it was a little overkill for 5 benches in that
$12,000.
area, but
I agree with you.
It's a lot of dough.
he
A
has,
lot of benches, too.
there's 2 parties, one of them was the Sheehan's that
Sit on the grass.
that made, and he has agreed to donate 2 benches, and the other party, Robin Norberg, for the other 2. So, we want 2 benches, or 2 more benches, or 4 more benches,
They're all being donated.
all donated. I think it's, if there were a question of spending town money, I would say that 1 on each end would be sufficient, but these are not costing the town any money, they're being donated. And in honor, I think both cases, it's in honor of a deceased member of the family. So, I can live with it, that's
Right, so
my
at the
initial part.
meeting that you didn't attend, they voted the 5 benches, so it would just remain the way it is. It's-
I think the past vote was that 5 benches would be
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
so,
Better
which has already
Like-
been voted on.
3 benches and a picnic table, because,
Well, there's,
Can we spread them out? Like, or
there's
they
several
have to be
picnic tables there now. They need, one
Yeah.
of them's new, one of them needs some attention. I don't know who's supposed to do that. Do we ask,
good looking.
do we ask DPW to spruce up the picnic tables?
Yeah, we could.
Okay.
The problem is, I mean, we're getting off subject now. What I have found, the problem with DPW doing maintenance work or any kind of work on conservation land is their budget tends to run with other town properties. And so they don't seem to have funds earmarked for more passive recreational areas.
So don't we have money in our budget for
We do have some money.
maintaining?
Usually 1,000 or 1,500.
So,
So I could talk
we
to
want-
Jimmy to see if we can spruce up
you
one
want to
of the
keep
picnic
it done
tables.
I would,
in-house and pay
We could-
DPW?
Right.
I'd like to know if anyone's ever seen anyone add a picnic table there. I mean, I see people, oh, okay, all right, then, fine. I see people more like sitting in their cars or standing and fishing.
Or parking their cars to go to
Or parking their
school?
cars to go to school, but I don't know if I would, I mean, let's stay focused on the benches, and not get too
No, we
bogged
should,
down with.
if we've got money, we ought to clean up the picnic table. The one, I think, if I gotta, one needs some work, I think. The other needs to be stained or some way preservative needs
Okay,
to put
well,
on it.
I can take a look at it and talk to
Yeah,
to Jim and Thomas.
I think there's 3 of them in that, 3 picnic tables in that area.
Is there any possibility of moving a couple of those benches to some other site? On another pond, or like even across the street here?
Memorial Pond.
Over here. Can I ask the question, if that's what you want to do?
Well,
I don't know what I know the one from Sheehan, I think, was to put a bench, and it started out, I think.
yeah, but the Sheehan one, the kid did the restoration of the area. So there's a reason for the Sheehan bench to be there at Clark's Pond.
Right.
But as far as I can see, there's no reason for the other 2 benches to be there. Why couldn't they be across the street?
I don't know. You can ask the question if you want me to.
Yeah, please do, see if, because there must be other places that we could have a bench.
I'll do that.
And
even-
there are benches other places.
E-
that are
even
from-
at,
This is a town-wide thing.
Yeah, even behind the high school at the White Bridge, there could be a bench there at the pond there that's at the White Bridge.
Is there any bench
Don't
out
be so
here?
sure there isn't one there. There's a lot of benches going in.
Picnic
There's
table.
a picnic table, isn't there? There's something there.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I'll ask the question. See what kind
Where
of response.
there's a lot of people wanting different things at Memorial Pond area. So one of the things that both Patrick DeSheens and I talked about is putting together a plan to incorporate all these different people's ideas of what should be at Memorial Pond specifically. And there was an item in capital budget to work on that plan, so to then just put a bench out there at this point, I think we want to do the plan first
You
and
wanna-
design the area.
Yeah, you
But I
want to
get
answer
your
that.
point, and I think there are already memorial benches going on other sites throughout town. And my understanding is people pick sites because there's some connection. I don't know these other people, Clark's Pond, but Jack can maybe ask Mr. McCarthy if they picked Clark's Pond because they have some kind of attachment to it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll check both questions.
I think that was our last item, Jack.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
10 o'clock.
All right.
There's
Someone
nothing new on enforcement or appeals at this point.
want to make a
Move to
motion to
adjourn.
close
Second.
the meeting?
All in favor?
Aye.
Patrick, you can turn the